Thinking back to your like Pee Wee days or even into high school days, was there any like big names that you could think of that you played with that
Guys like Devin Barrett, guys like Bentley Sanders, those guys make you want to compete.
and that's right around the time they won the national championship. Talk about your experience with NIL, like from when you were in college and your perspective obviously was like very early on days, totally different.
Like my first NIL deal was like a clothing brand. Say a guy gets like $1 million, right? Put that money where it's supposed to be at.
What advice would you give to them from this business perspective and the playing perspective?
You gotta go through some ups and downs, which is cool. That's part of life. But if you just stick that course and invest in yourself and learn how to make certain decisions as you grow in the college world.
Playmaker's only podcast, you know the vibes. I'm your host, Jake, and today we got a Playmaker on the podcast, Decalon Brooks. How are you?
What's going on, my guy? Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah. So first episode of Playmakers, had to have you on here. Wanted to talk a little bit about what Playmakers only is and, why I started the podcast and really what we want to get accomplished with the show. But obviously I wanted to give players the ability to come and tell their story on their terms and their way. And really give not only just athletes in generally, but specifically Bay Area athletes if we can, man. There's so many good Tampa Bay athletes that I want to give them a platform to tell their story and then have a conversation about the ever-evolving world of the business of sports. We talk a lot about college sports and, you've been in the professional ranks as well, so we'll talk a little bit about the pros. But, yeah, really just wanted to give guys a platform to tell their story. So I'll let you kind of jump into it. Like, tell us a little bit about from the jump, like Pee Wee football all the way to Florida State to the pros. Let's hear the whole deal.
Oh, man. So obviously I'm from Tampa. I was born in Pensacola, raised in Tampa, bro. And I started playing football when I was like maybe 5-6 years old, all the way to, the Carrollwood Hurricanes, man, playing over at Sigwas High School. And then, man, that progressed to, Northdale Dolphins, then to the Town and Country Packers, and the TBYFL, growing up, which was very prominent in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, those times were great, bro. That's when I really fell in love with football because it was just fun.
Yeah.
What I mean? Once I got around the right people, the right guys, you know what I mean? And you as a kid, when you're winning and when you're doing your thing out on the field and you're just enjoying life, what I mean? That's when I really fell in love with it. And then, when I was done with that, went to Gaither High School, right down the street from Plant, and those were good days too. You know what I mean? It was a few times where it was up and down and all that. Shout out to Coach Stokes. You know what I mean? That's my guy during my time over at Gaither. It taught me a lot. You know what I mean? He always used to say, "Find a way." That was his mantra, and I took that all the way through high school, just finding a way to get something done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finding a way, school, football, then all the way, through college and in life. I didn't know that saying would have a big impact on me. Now as an adult, in the real world.
For sure.
So. He taught me a lot and made some great relationships with my teammates. And man, I had fun, and the recruiting journey.
Hey, let me pause you real quick. I know that a lot of the guys, especially at the gym, like House of Athlete and stuff, a lot of the Tampa Bay area guys talk about playing with other players coming up. Thinking back to your Pee Wee days or even into high school days, was there any big names that you can think of that you played with that maybe made it to the league or made a big impact in college football?
Sure. Ray McLeod. He's with the Falcons now. Just played in the Super Bowl. Shout out to Ray, man, doing his thing up there. Chris Oladokin.
Oh yeah, Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs, man. Just got a second Super Bowl. I'm really proud of him. And also, guys like Devin Barrett, guys like Bentley Sanders, those guys right there, those guys make you want to compete.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Playing with those guys, you know what I mean, and the talent that they had from the little leagues to the college level, it it was a blessing to play with them, because that's when I go back to saying having fun and really fall in love with the game.
Yeah.
They brought that, they had a hand in bringing that out of me.
Yeah.
Because we competed, and
Yeah.
that was fun.
And you see it too, like in college football, especially like at the Power 5 level, Power 4 level now, like a lot of guys after the games, you'll see them like come up to each other and talk to each other. I think it's so interesting to see like the guys that play with each other, whether it be in high school, and then some guys are like, yo, I used to play with that guy in Pee Wee. You know, just to hear the stories is super interesting. What about high school? Like right now, I think the thing that I see the most is like, you know, guys move around so much, but was there anything in like your high school days that you can think back to as far as like big games or teams you played against or so on and so forth?
High school, you just talking about high school and college?
Yeah.
High school, big games, man. I remember we played, it was actually playing against Devin and Bentley, man. They went to TC, and those were big games. You know what I mean? But those were big games. And 1 year we went to TC, and Nate Craig was part of that team. I think that was my junior year, maybe my junior year, senior. I can't remember, but Nate Craig was part of that team.
Nice. Now at UCF, right? Coaching.
Yeah. I haven't kept up with him much, but I know he's in coaching now.
Yeah.
I know he went to Auburn, then I think he went to transfer. And I know he's into coaching, but you know, I think he's doing really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But TC, obviously the rival, Steinbrenner, obviously playing against Plant, but you know, back then those days Plant was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was still fun playing against them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they had a number of recruits, and I just look forward to playing. Whether they came to us or we went to them, it was a great time playing against those guys. And Sickles, that's what we went to.
I think I know the answer to this question already, but I got to ask it just because, like, in the high school level now, I hear this from all sorts of players. But was there ever a idea in your mind that you might transfer schools from Gaither and play at a different team? Because it feels like today, like, I've seen guys transfer schools 4 years in a row. You know, like guys that'll come out here from other states to come play in the state of Florida.
See, that's kind of wild. 40 schools in a row. But granted though, that some people are in different situations where they can't help that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when it comes to transferring, like in high school, I thought about it, but when that time came, I was just about to be done with my junior year, and I was like, man, I'm at Gaither. I already been here 3 years, and I'm going to transfer. You know what I mean? So it's like I already put the work in right here. So what's the point in transferring? We were in a good district, you know, and our team was straight, you know. So I didn't see a real need to transfer.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel like that today, like, and you know, we've had this conversation so many times about like NIL and the money, and you know, now that's in decision making. Like, that's such a different. But it's always good to hear from people about, like, you know, everybody goes through it. Like, the best players go through it at some point in time. So just to hear that perspective is really interesting. But what I'm really interested to know is about your recruitment. Like, talk to me about those last couple of years. Obviously, like, you're a Florida State legacy. You were there kind of at the end of the Jimbo era. Like, honestly, like, probably when you were being recruited, still some really good years. But talk to us a little bit about your recruitment.
So my recruitment, man, that was good too. I felt like I was a little bit underrated, but that's just how the chips fall sometimes, and you just roll with them. You know what I mean? And I never complained. All right, but I'm underrated. I'm gonna work what God blessed me with, and I made the best of it. That was my attitude. But I got my first offer from UCF, not UCF, USF. That's when Coach Tag was over there, and they recruited me hard. And I was also recruited by just to name off a few schools, like Florida State, obviously, Illinois. Coach Levis Smith was over there. Iowa State. Who else? FIU. Rutgers. Who else? Middle Tennessee, and those offers really came off of, most of them came after my junior season.
Yeah.
And that time was really interesting because now you have, like, how you have 7-on-7 teams, these different tournaments. I was part of Team 10. We went to Vegas one time, and we traveling around Florida or whatnot, and you got all these guys coming to for interviews and like Rivals 24/7, all that, and asking me like, hey, are you leaning more towards Florida State, or like, what's your thoughts on this, and are you gonna follow your dad's footsteps and all that? The main thing about my recruitment was, one, separating myself from my father. You know what I mean? Even he knew it came with the territory, but he still didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that helped, having his support in it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And also, two, letting schools know that I'm open to more schools.
Yeah, you want to play.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not set on Florida State. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the biggest things I wanted people to understand, is that I'm not going here because of who my pops is.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not. This is my journey, and this is a big step in my life.
Love that.
So let me go ahead and weather this thing out, see what I got, and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's super interesting. The one thing I always love to ask players, because like, guys will lock onto a school real early. Like, I've seen guys commit like early into their junior year, even like as a sophomore. But for you, like, was there ever a school that you were like, obviously Florida State is the one everyone's looking at, but for you internally, like, was there ever a school that you're like, man, I could really see myself going to this school outside of Florida State?
UCF.
What about UCF did you like?
So that's when Shaquem and...
Oh, that's right. And they were from St. Pete.
Yes.
They went to Lakewood, right?
I think they went to Lakewood.
Yeah.
And I look at Shaquille. I think Shaquille would play at the backer, and Shaquille
Playing safety?
Corner.
Corner, okay.
And I look at how he played, bro, and especially given his situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, beating the odds. Like, you can't name a better story.
Yeah, and that's right around the time they won the national championship.
Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I look at him and how he played. I was like, man, I play similar to him.
Absolutely, I totally see that now.
I mean, I play similar to him at that weak side backup position.
Yeah,
flying around sideline to sideline, making plays.
Heck yeah.
I really had UCF like on the back of my mind, but again, like with the offers that I had, I worked with those, and I wanted to let my film talk.
Yeah.
UCF will come if they come. You know what I mean? Can't control that. But shoot, like that's just the way like that no other school really. I didn't see myself going out west.
Yeah, that's a tough.
Yeah, I didn't see myself going out west. Furthest I would have went was probably Texas. You know what I mean? But I was really more so looking to stay on the East Coast. You know what I mean? In the South. One, because it's warm. Two, it's closer to home. You know what I mean? So that's, other than UCF, I didn't really see.
Yeah, I feel that. We'll just kind of like transition a little bit. Like, obviously, like, I'm really interested to hear about this part because I think he's like one of the best recruiters in the country by far. But talk about Coach Jimbo, like what made you choose Florida State in the end, and just the timing of it all.
Oh, Jimbo. Jimbo's a great guy. So that was my Florida State was my fourth offer, and you could tell people loved Jimbo.
Yeah, for sure.
When I went on visits over there, like Tallahassee worshiped that man.
Yeah,
and players looked up to him as well. So when you take into account that his mindset when it comes to the offensive side of the ball and how he coached under Nick Saban.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he was he was strict. He got on you when he needed to. You know what I mean? But I like Jimbo. You know what I mean? Getting recruited by him was good. But really, aside from him, what really got me to stick was Coach Odell Higgins.
Oh yeah,
Coach Dawsey, and Coach Mario Edwards. Those three guys made sure that I knew that, and my family knew that I was getting recruited because of who I am. You know what I mean? Not because who Derek Brooks is,
For sure.
and Kalen Brooks. We're treating you like you're your own man because you are your own man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they just kept it real with me, especially with that.
Oh, for sure.
People were Tallahassee worse was Odell more than Jimbo. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I can say no to that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think thinking back to what you said about like being underrated a little bit, like that's one thing that's Coach Jimbo's like part of his success is taking guys that were not like the 5-star in the recruiting rankings and making them the centerpiece of a championship. You look back to those like 2010 to 2014 days, like a lot of the guys that he put in the league, like I think about Cam Irving, right? Like he was a 2-star defensive tackle. Jimbo brings him in, and he played like 10 years in the league, it felt like.
Exactly.
Won a Super Bowl, like could play multiple positions on offensive line. Like he didn't even really do that in high school. So I think that like that's what makes Coach Jimbo so interesting is like, yeah, he can go and get any top recruit that he wants, but like he was a master, especially in those early days of like finding guys that you know, were under the radar that he could really develop and turn into like a championship powerhouse. But thinking back, like you commit to Florida State, talk about like that transition, because I'll let you kind of tell the story, but was he there? Was he on his way out? Like what was the situation once you actually came to Florida State?
My freshman year?
Yeah.
Okay. So my freshman year, he was there. Like I'm 18. I'm coming in. I'm thinking Jimbo ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then somewhere along the line, but I knew he was on a contract year. Like he was on the last year of his contract. But in my mind, I'm thinking, man,
he's going to be there forever.
Brought us in, and especially with our that 2017 class, but we was stacked.
And in 2016, they had a great season.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, man, Jimbo ain't going nowhere at all. But then during the season, it started like having little rumors.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. Like little rumors, you know, like, oh, Jimbo's on his last contract. What's he gonna do?
Is he recruiting?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like those things started to come into play, and then I want to say it was before we played Delaware State. I want to say it was the last.
So towards the end of the season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was out. I redshirted that year because I was still coming off of a ACL at the end of my senior season. So before Delaware State, I come into the locker room. So beforehand, like I wasn't traveling, or traveling to like the hotel.
Yeah.
So I would stay over at Champions Hall, where like guys that like when travel.
All the players. Yeah.
Players. Yeah. So we stayed over at Champions Hall, and when I got over to the stadium, people talking about, where's Jimbo? Like,
oh no.
She was like, what happened? You know what I mean? But like, let me retract that. So news came out, and then when we got to the stadium, that's when it set into me. I was like, oh, this man really knows. Oh shoot, he really about to go to A&M.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's wild. Like, I didn't even think about, like, when you get recruited, I wish I would have thought about it, but like
you just don't think about it.
That didn't even come to my head.
Wow.
I'm like, this man came in, sat on my couch. You know what I'm saying? Like, talked to us, kept it real with us and everything, and then he obviously he made a decision.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that decision. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Shoot, he made a decision that was best for his family and himself. and there's nothing wrong with that. But she was going through a first transition after your first year. I was like, damn.
Yeah, that's tough on a first-year player for sure. And I hear you, man. Like I felt like I was just shocked when I heard that type of talk that he was even gonna leave. Like even earlier in the season, mid-season, people talking about the whole recruiting thing. But yeah, man, that's crazy. But I'm interested to hear like your thoughts on like, you know, obviously you said Coach Taggart recruited you at USF. You're from the Bay Area, so you knew him. How was that transition like for you with Coach Jimbo going to Coach Taggart in that 2018 season?
So 2017, you could see little things that were happening. You know, 2017, it wasn't. Yeah, we went bowling, but it wasn't the best season. We expected
Like 7
better.
and 6, I think.
Yeah. We expected better, and we knew we could have done better. But little things like started like happening. You just felt like the aura was changing. You know what I mean? And I guess it wasn't as I'ma say as structured a little bit.
You talking about with Coach Taggart?
No, I'm talking about like
leading
up to Coach Taggart. You know what I mean?
Oh, like Coach Jimbo was very intense.
Intense. You know what I mean? And then when he left, obviously, when you have that figure, that coach that's really on it, some things start to you know get a little bit discombobulated. You know what I mean? And that's expected. You know, but then with Coach Tag, that transition, how I felt about it was, okay, Coach Tag's coming in. You know what I mean? Cool. He recruited me at USF. All right, I know this dude.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that same way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be cool. You know what I mean? But when you transitioning from one coach to another, some things gonna happen. Got to get used to his system. Got to get used to different coaches.
Completely different system.
He coaches bring in their guys, not just on the staff, but
players.
Beginning
of the transfer portal era too is coming up right around then too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you think about that. We're trying to make it work with him. He's trying to make it work with us and implementing his system. And the coaches trying to come, and other coaches trying to come in and implement their system. Right. It took some getting used to, and a lot of things happy. So seeing some people go, some people stay, and that just comes with the territory. And I soon realized that.
Yeah,
it was like with any transition, you know, it's a lot of things you're not gonna like, but it just comes with it.
Hey, one thing that I think is super interesting, you talk about some of the guys coming in and out, but I think about this all the time because he just got a super big payday. Landon Dickerson. He was in your class too, I think. And you know, he ends up leaving that class, going to Alabama, winning a national championship, going to the Eagles, winning the Super Bowl. Now he's the highest paid offensive lineman. It's like, man, we had him. Like, how are we gonna let someone like that go? And obviously it's all those things you talked about, right? The scheme fit, the coaching staff, you name it. But every time I think about that, I'm like, man, that dude was a mauler. I mean, he was hurt a little bit too while he was with us, but
he was hurt a little bit at Florida State. But then when he got to Bama, that saving effect kicked in.
Yeah, he was mauling people.
Shoot. And let him balled out. It's a kudos to him.
Kudos to him. Highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history as of this last year. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, it's such crazy. But yeah, I'm interested to hear like your point. Everyone wants to have an opinion on Coach Taggart, and I think that the one thing that like people discount way too much is the fact that at Florida State, if you think about the coaches that have been there, right? Bobby Bowden was there the majority of the time. He recruited your dad, you know, like he was there through the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And, you know, you were talking about Coach Jimbo and like how much everyone loved him. That 2009 year, man, like that was such an easy transition to go to Coach Jimbo in 2010. I was at Florida State 2010 to 2014. So I was there for those first 4 years of Coach Jimbo. But when I think about that transition, was so much different than Coach Taggart because, to your point about Jimbo, everyone loved Jimbo because they were like, all right, he's Coach Bowden's guy, right? He had been in the system for a few years as the OC. The players liked him. The fan base loved him. Like, we knew that Coach Bowden couldn't coach for forever. Right. And so somebody's got to make that transition. He's kind of that, got that country twang to him a little bit as well. So like it fit in with, with obviously like the fan base. But, you know, when I think about Coach Taggart, like, you know, a lot of people want to talk about his win record and all that type of stuff. I thought it was going to be an interesting mix, like to bring someone in like that to like shake things up, because we have so many offensive weapons that Florida State can always recruit. Like, that's what I love about doing this podcast, and why I want to give guys the opportunities, because Florida has the best athletes by far, in my opinion.
One more time for the people in the back.
Florida has the best athletes, high school football, high school sports in general, you name it. But when I think about all those athletes and Coach Taggart, I'm like, man, we have so many guys. Like, think about like George Campbell was out there during that time, another Bay legend. Like, there's so many good players that he could have utilized. So I'm interested to hear your perspective on just those first couple of years, like your time with Coach Taggart, and like just what you thought about that time in general.
So I thought about the whole period with Taggart.
Actually, you know what? We could take a step back, because I know this is the question you didn't want to talk about.
We can talk.
No, the Virginia Tech. We could start there, because I mean that's the beginning of Coach Tag if you think about it. Man, I got that swag. My hat matching my bag. Man, I when I was watching that game, I was sitting there like so hyped in that moment. I'm like, yo, we're back. Like, we had a bad season last year. We are back. That stadium rocking.
It's funny you say that, because granted, I was hyped in that moment too. You know what I mean? Because we were all black stadium.
Were you on special teams for that?
No, man. So, look, I was out with a concussion. For that game. Like, I could have come back in time, because, you know, you got to go through the whole protocol and everything. And I'm like, God, hey, bro, I got to have a week before the game, bro. I got to go ahead.
Yeah.
But whatever, it is what it is. So, leading up to that game, thinking back, because I tried to believe it, and when you asked me that question, I'm like, wow, okay. Look, man, that game was so hyped up, to where you gotta look back and think like, that's not what. Something about that felt weird. Like, why is this so? In my personal opinion, I can't speak for anybody else, but that game was a little bit overhyped.
Do you think it was because of the opponent? Not to like downplay them at all.
Not to downplay them at all. You know what I mean? Because VTech was straight. They were good. But I was speaking that in terms of, okay, all black.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The end zones had the retro look to them. Mm-hmm. And then you think about on social media how people hyping up this game against VTech. It's the Tiger era and all that. Hashtag do something. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is how I felt personally. I felt like it was doing too much a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And the reason I said the opponent is not to like downplay them, like they weren't a good team. They definitely were a good team. It's more so about those first games of the season is a tradition. I don't want to say a traditional rivalry, because I think about traditional rivalry for Florida State is Florida and Miami. But I'm talking about that first game, and we're doing it a lot right now. It's like, you know, we played Notre Dame in 21. We've been playing LSU the last 2 years.
Right.
You know, we're going to play, like, this year's an interesting one too, Georgia Tech. It's not like a big name rivalry outside of the conference and all that. Yeah, we're going to Ireland for it, but it's not the Georgia, it's not the Alabama and all that type of stuff. So I hear what you're saying. Like, it was way overhyped.
And my thing was that you can tell as a player, you can tell when something is a little bit off.
Yeah.
You can tell when something is a little bit off. And I have full confidence we were going to win that game.
Oh, for sure.
But at that same time, I was like, something some off a little bit. You know what I mean? It didn't feel right in my gut a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just being a little transparent how I felt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still wait a lot of confidence we were going to win because we had a stacked team. But you going back and watching that in that game, B Tech was just a better team.
Better team, yeah.
Like they saw, being real, they saw us hyping up this game. All black. We don't what?
Yeah. They kind of had that what do we have to lose type of feel to them. Like they were just like
all black for a first game. This ain't Miami.
Yeah.
This ain't Florida. You know what I mean? This ain't late in the season. Shoot, let's build up to that. You know what I mean? A uniform is a color of uniform is a color of uniform, but there shouldn't be a emphasis on that. But just to go back to it, we said it was just a better team.
Yeah.
Go back, watching the film the next day, they were prepared. They went in that game. It was like, yo, we can beat this team.
mm-hmm.
And it just showed we had a block punt, we had some sacks. It was a lot of good stuff happened that game. Think about the play with Cam LeBourne.
Yeah.
Cam bust through for a touchdown. You know what I mean? And Newton did his thing. And Dre had a day too. You know what I mean? The defense did good. B Burns and all them DJ.
They didn't score a ton of points. I think it was 21 points total, but it was 14 for most of the game.
Yeah, you watch the game, people just gonna look at the score and be like, well, they got their ass whooped. Nah, but go back and watch the game. You know what I mean?
They came to play on defense. That's really what it came down to.
You know, like I'm not saying that offense wasn't. I'm not gonna say, oh, defense showed up and offense didn't. I'm saying that, you know, it was some good things that happened, but you can't, in order for it to work, it has to be a collective. You know what I mean? And bottom line is, the team, Florida State, we didn't show up. Going back at being transparent.
Yeah.
Like they were just a better team that day, and it showed.
Yeah. I'm interested. I don't want to fast forward too much, but I'm interested to hear like your point of view on the multiple coaches, right? So you started coming out of high school, recruited by Jimbo, come to Florida State, play with Jimbo first year, then he leaves. Then you have Coach Tagger for a couple years, then he gets fired. Then you get to, I mean, and this is also COVID year too, so that makes it even tougher. But talk about like your mindset and just what you went through going through multiple coaching staffs and at the school that you're a legacy at, like adding that on top of it, and I guess from the perspective of staying loyal.
First off, I'm going to say this to Odell Higgins as a head coach.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, shout out. 3 and Odell. Yeah. I forget about that.
One of the best head coaches out
No doubt.
there. His tenure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just speaking about that, the transition from coach to coach, you learn different things when you in a transition like that. And for me, I didn't see myself at that time. Now I'm embedded in Florida State.
Yeah.
I'm there. I didn't see myself at any other school.
Yeah.
Like they want to go back home to USF. They want to do that. Was not gonna go to Florida, Miami.
No.
You know what I mean? That's dead. Then any other schools out there, like I personally couldn't see myself out there at any other school besides Florida State.
But it's got to be like tempting, right? Because I think about it from the perspective of like 2018 was the first year of the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. So like everybody decides, like every year from 2018 it was like exponentially, like so many guys going in, so many guys, and honestly staying there too. Like that's the sad part about that time of the transfer portal is like they got locked out of playing ball. Like they had to step down multiple levels.
It is a thing with that though too. Like you said, a lot of guys transfer, a lot of guys stay in more than they come out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So me personally, before I signed my letter of intent, I'm driving down somewhere, I forget where it was, with my dad, right? And he asked me, son, if you never played a down of football, where would you go? And I said, dang, I wasn't even thinking like that.
Yeah.
Because with that in my head, to me, what I should have realized in that moment was that you're not committed to a coach.
Yeah.
Because coaches not going to be committed to you. They trying to
Absolutely.
level up.
Committed to the bag, just like the rest of us.
So, and I'm committed to a school. You know, I'm committed to a school. I was raised by getting my education first before any bag, before any deal, anything like that. Make sure you get a piece of paper with your name on it.
Absolutely.
So that's the school is what I was loyal to. I was loyal to Tallahassee, Florida. I was loyal to Florida State, and no matter what the transition was, I know that I was gonna weather that storm. You know, God put me in this situation for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like I said, not trying to fast forward too much, but like thinking about, you know, moving from Coach Tag to, you know, Coach Norvell, obviously, like, and that's when I really started getting involved with more players, was right around like right after Coach Norvell's first year. Obviously, NIL started in 2021, so that was really my first year really getting involved with players. But I'm interested to hear your perspective just on Coach Norvell in general, like from those early days. What made you stick around with him? What made you believe in him? Like, what made you stick around with the program?
He was crazy. Crazy as hell.
Yeah, I can see that. It still is.
Dog. I'm talking about
Energy.
Energy. When this man came in, and no matter of fact, I'm
That first tour of duty.
I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. His first meeting with us, I'm thinking, all right, this is a third head coach coming in, bro, and you know he's saying the right things and all that, but I'm like, oh, until you actually do, you know what I mean, do something about it. I ain't big on words, you know what I mean.
You gotta see it.
I'm a bad healer. Come on now. And then first tour of duty, we got to be there at what time? 6,
Shoot.
5, 6.
People quit the first day, first week.
This man come in here yelling. Good morning. Let's go get it. I'm like, who is this dude, fam? Like, bro,
Yeah.
who is this dude? You know what I mean? Then you had Coach Storms on top of that, coming in, blowing the whistle, getting us, all that stuff. And then I had Coach Chris Marr, the best position coach I ever had.
That's right.
One of the best coaches I ever had in my life, Coach Chris Marr. That man was strict, but also a great leader. He comes in. He probably crazier than Norvell in terms of like having energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I ain't never experienced that. I never experienced that during those first two tenures of my first two head coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, this is different. This is good. They're trying to implement structure. And when people started making the comparison to Bobby Bowden, and I started having conversations with different alumni and even my dad or whatnot, and they saying, yeah, it's similar. I'm like,
brought back mat drills too.
Mat drills, cone drills, hurdles, bags, whatever you think of, they brought it out. And but I could tell from that first year, that first tour of duty, he was trying to really change and implement old school values, which I felt like was something that was missing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love. You know, I don't want to say it's corny because it's not corny, but like every coach has to come in with a mantra, and I've always loved the idea of the climb. Like even today, like, you know, they came off a 13-0 season, and like he's still talking about like we got to climb again, like every single. So like just his dedication to the mantra, like he's never switched up, like ever. Like that's the one thing I'll give him a ton of respect for, is like he's never switched up on like what the goal is, what his mantra is. Like when you're winning, and like coaches change, you know, like especially when they win games like that. And like the one thing I always loved about him is like he knew he was gonna win. He didn't know how long it was gonna take, but he knew he was going to win. Like he's one of the things I love about him is in 2021 after they lost. Yeah, you were on that team. They lost 4 games, Jacksonville State and all that stuff. And after that, Jacksonville State, and he gets in the room with the media, and he just goes off. He just went off. He's like, if these people in here like don't think that we can win, no problem. Like, because next year I'm gonna get some more people. Next year I'm gonna get some more people. I'm gonna just keep building, keep stacking, and we're gonna win. We're gonna bring in people that want to win. And like, if you don't want to win, get out of here. Because like, I want to win that bad. Like,
that's all part of the climb, man. Like literally, I remember that acronym. It's ingrained in my head: commitment, little things, intensity, mental toughness, and brotherhood.
Yeah,
those are like that singular word, climb, is what he stands on. And the fact that he never switched up and he brought in a staff that resembles all of that.
Oh yeah,
that's when I knew. When I started thinking about the whole picture, I'm like, okay, this man for real. He's trying to build a foundation. You know what I mean? When you're building a foundation, you have to be able to stand on every word that you're saying and not go away from it, despite what everybody else sees. Everybody else sees the COVID season, sees Owen for his second year, and I'm like, y'all not seeing what's really going to be built right here.
Bricks being stacked.
Exactly, man. Like, when you talking about guys like I was there, Kier Thomas, Jermaine Johnson, Jamie Robinson.
Ooh.
Then you have D'Lo, King,
yeah,
Cool,
Fabo, Jerry and Jones.
Exactly, all those guys, Fabo, all those guys, man. Like, we bought in because we knew Norvell was for real.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and just the character of those group of guys too.
Yeah,
like, that's what really made it go, because they know in their mind, like yeah, we on 4, but we really building something right here.
For sure.
We did it with that year after that 2022 season. That wasn't no fluke.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no fluke because we went 13. No, that next season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think too, like, I'll say it a ton of times because, like, in my world, like, everybody always wants to talk about transferring. But if you think about it, like, all those guys that you mentioned, they all could have folded. They all could have transferred. None of them did. Not one of them did.
Exactly. And so, Kier, Pop, and Jermaine, and others, they came in that second year, and they was solid. They bought in. But when you talk about guys like, again, Fabo, J-Dub, Keem, myself, D-Lo, who else I'm thinking of? I know it's others, man. I can't believe I'm drawing.
There's a ton of guys. I mean, you got like Cam McDonald was still
Cam, exactly, man.
Pokey.
Yeah, Poke. All those guys, man. Like,
Trayshawn was there too. Trayshawn was kind of coming into his own through those times.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. He went from walk-on and earners.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So shout out Trayshawn. But think about those core group of guys, man. Like, we needed to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and I'm glad that we stayed, because we saw and we learned how to weather a storm.
For sure.
And became leaders, especially D-Lo.
Oh yeah.
I told D-Lo and DJ Lundy. I told, after, I forget what game it was. It might have been was it that next year, or was it just this past season? I forget what game it was, but we won. I'm bringing them back in. I'm walking back in with them in the locker room and whatnot, and I'm telling them boys like how proud I am of them.
Yeah.
Like, I watched those boys grow. I watched them grow. They're my little brothers right there. And you know what I mean? And D-Lo still did, Lundy's still doing his thing.
Absolutely.
Last year, Florida State, and D-Lo's with the Bucks. Like, I told him, I'm proud of
gonna make the roster of the Bucks.
Exactly. I'm proud of the growth that they established during that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can see the leaders really come up.
Yeah. I'll finish this up with your story, because I do want to hear. This is like kind of when I first met you. Thinking about, so when I first met you, you were in the XFL.
Yeah.
XFL?
Yeah.
Now
I
UFL?
I just was drafted by the Atlanta Guardians.
Yeah, so talk about like that move to professional, because the one thing that I always talk to players about a lot that they just, I feel like sometimes don't hear is when you play for a big Power 5 college football program, everybody thinks they're going to the league. Like, and they think they're going to stick around in the league for a really long time solely because they went to a Florida State, or maybe they went to Georgia or Alabama or whatever it might be. And what they really don't see is, you know, even in draft picks, man, like 5th round, especially through 7th round, like there's guys that are 5th round through 7th round, and then you have all these priority free agent UDFAs and stuff like that. Then there's all these guys in the XFL, UFL that are battling for spots number 40 through 53 on the roster, then those now 16 practice squad spots. Yes. And they're fighting for their lives. Like, they're fighting for their livelihoods. Like, they got families to feed and all this stuff. But I'm just interested to hear your perspective, because you went to Florida State, you played in a lot of big games, like you went through the draft process, you played in the XFL. Like, talk about that transition from college to the professional levels, and like what it takes to really get on a roster, stay on a roster, and like what matters at that level.
So coming out, my last season was 2021, and into the draft 2022. And I went undrafted, which is cool. But then, out of coming undrafted, you know, I had a few tryouts with the Commanders and the Bucks and all that. It went well, but, you know, sometimes we dealing with the league.
Oh, yeah.
Numbers and all that stuff's outside your control, right? Then, that year goes by, then the XFL comes.
First year of the XFL?
Yes,
yeah,
first year of the XFL. The XFL... Now the UFL is a great league because it provides guys that were considered underdogs, underrated, or whatnot, that can ball and just can really perform on a platform. You know what I mean?
Reps and film.
Exactly, reps and film. But also for me, yes, I went to Florida State, but now I'm with guys from D1, not D1 double A's, D2s, D3s, all fighting to make this team.
Shoot, you could have had some guys that were playing a couple years in the NFL. They're trying to get back onto a roster.
Exactly, that too. You know what I mean? So what that taught me was, like you said before, it takes a different mindset to make the league.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of things that's out of our control, and that's the frustrating thing about it, is that we put in a lot of work to then be denied from stuff that's out of our control.
Yeah.
But we still keep grinding, we still keep putting in the work, waking up early, going to sleep late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what those guys in my first year in XFL, that's what we were all doing.
Yeah.
Trying to get back to the NFL, trying to get on a roster spot. But it also humbled me too, because it was a humbling experience, because we don't know how good we got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna be real right now. If you're at a Power 5 school,
especially now.
Yes, especially now, you better wake up and thank God every day.
I tell players that all the time,
because guys that go to these, like HBCUs, Delaware States, Southern, Montana, you know what I'm saying, North Carolina, all that, man, even a FAMU, they don't have the resources that are at Power 5 schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell younger guys this all the time: if you take this for granted, it could be taken away at an instant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And these guys that I was in the XFL with, they never complained, because they were blessed to be there.
Oof.
Somebody would give their right hand just to be in the position. You know what I mean? And they understand the grind. They just love playing ball, but they know they had a goal to get to. you know. So when they talk to me about their experiences and everything, I was listening.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
was listening.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's really good perspective. And like, that's why when I first talked to you, I remember talking about like, just like how the XFL worked and salaries and living situation and all that type of stuff. And I'm sitting there listening to it. And I'm like, to your point, like these guys in college got it so easy now. Like not only just easy, but like they just have so many benefits that like they just don't even recognize that when they get to that next level, like you're scratching and clawing for all that. But
And even then too, and because I know you in the NIL circle, players want the money. It's important for them to learn how to manage that money.
woo, talk to them. No, I was about to say like that's where I think we can kind of like transition the conversation to more of like that sports business talk. Like that's what I want to use this platform personally for, is to, you know, talk, like get my voice out there in the sense of like all the experience that I have in understanding from your point of view, right, about how things work in the XFL, and even like on practice squad. I talked to guys about practice squad. Like, man, there's guys that play on practice squad that just stick. Hey, Jay Sean Corbett, you know, sticking around on the Giants, like just stick around and sticking around and stick around. Then finally get elevated to a roster. Like you can do it, but what I want to use this platform to do is like give that insight to the business and like a little bit on my side, a little bit from the player side, just get their perspective. But I guess that's one place that we could start is like, tell me about your perspective on NIL, like your last year. So like that last season was the first minute that NIL started. So like in the summer, I think the law passed in Florida so that people could start making money. But talk about your experience with NIL, like from when you were in college, and your perspective obviously was like very early on days, totally different than where we are now. Just also what your perspective is on these guys in 2024.
Right. So that first year at NIL, I was glad that we were able to get paid off of our name, image, and likeness, because for so long that was getting like swept under the rug, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even then, you think about them. You think about those great teams back then. Like you can't tell me that Peter Ward and all them boys, Deion Sanders, couldn't make money off the name. Or come on now. But hey, that was the world we lived in at the time.
Crazy.
But I'm glad that it happened. And when you first started out, it was like local businesses you were getting involved with, and then you had the my first NIL deal was like a clothing brand, you know what I mean? And it was this called For the Culture, and I was paid off of sales,
yeah,
off of me, like using my code and everything, and posting on like social media, like me in their merchandise,
yeah,
and whatnot. So it was more so them type of deals in the beginning. And then I did another deal that was raising awareness towards mental health, towards athletes, you know what I mean? And I didn't get paid for that, but I wanted to bring awareness using my platform.
Heck yeah. Absolutely.
So that first year was interesting because you knew everybody wasn't going to get a deal. And even then, like, compared to then to now, that money didn't want nothing. That wasn't can I curse on it?
Sure.
That wasn't shit.
Yeah.
That wasn't shit. Like 500,000, 250,000, and you telling me a high school recruit is getting this much? If you think about Peyton Manning, son,
Arch Manning, yeah.
yeah, and Travis Hunter, they got paid
Big time.
You know what I mean?
Big time.
And shoot, what?
Yeah.
I ain't got no word. I got no words for that.
I think what's interesting right now is you're starting to see like University of Oklahoma just poached this guy from the Eagles that was their like cap specialist to help with like truly allocating the money in a way that makes sense for the team. And I think the point that you're bringing up is like, especially in that 2021, 2022 years, like early on, like they were just throwing money at people because it was like, hey, we wanted to get this guy. We got to do anything we can to get him. Then he gets on the roster and you're paying a freshman, you know, a couple $100,000, and he redshirts.
Ain't nothing, he ain't do nothing to earn that money.
What about these guys that helped you get to a championship last year and you're not paying them anything? You know what I mean? So that's where I think it gets really interesting. But yeah, I remember like that beginning 2021 time, like when we first started our agency, like we didn't think anything about like collectives and the pay for play aspect.
Yeah.
Like we and I think it's so interesting you bring up the affiliate marketing, like the code stuff, because what players don't understand is like in traditional marketing, like people make crazy money off affiliate marketing. Like if you have the right partnership and it's something that like your audience will really understand, like, man, I've seen people make like $40,000 or $60,000 a year just off of commissions on codes. But I think that players like look for whatever the easy money is, and they don't look at it for like what it can bring them overall, which I think is the downfall of like this NIL thing. And that's why I think like in these next few years, we're going to start seeing more pay for play in college football and college basketball.
Right. And here's the thing with that. When you're looking for an easy, I'm not even going to say easy money. I'm going to say when you're looking for more bread to make, right? Not everybody gets like that money. So you have to, if you take it to, I just got off the phone the other week with a Florida State alumni, and he said that you manage your money better than a lot of these athletes out here.
Crazy.
And I'm like talking about professional athletes, and I'm like, these are important lessons that these younger guys need to learn. Like you got to know that one, NFL guys get paid through the season. Off season, they not seeing no bread.
There's like 3 to 5 guys that see a little bit of money report, workout bonus, roster bonus, all that stuff, but it's like 5 guys on 53-man roster, 90-man roster.
Exactly. So when you think about that, and 2, you also think about how unpredictable the league is. You got to learn how to manage your money now. If you looking to get a deal off of, say your sophomore year, right? You get paid off collectives and all that, right?
Yeah.
And then your junior season comes around, and you looking to get more money, but your numbers were still the same. So you got to think it's gonna get to a point where 2 things. One, you gotta learn to manage your money, because not everybody. School is not gonna agree to. The reality is, school's not gonna agree every time they raise your bread up. You know what I mean? Too much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
So say a guy gets like $1 million, right? Put that money where it's supposed to be at.
Man, stop buying these cars. Good Lord, stop buying these cars.
Buying cars and all that, you know what I mean? But when you were 18, when you were young dude, they not trying to hear that. But when you get like what I was about before, the much is given, much is required. So you gotta have some maturity with it. All right, if I get this car, I know I'm trying to pay for my mom's crib back home. Which is more important? I can get a car, but I can't get this car. All right. I gotta make sure some of this money go back to bills back home, and then I gotta put it somewhere else where this money is still gonna continue to grow.
Talk to them.
You know what I mean? Like they're not hearing that until
too late.
It's too late. They don't want to believe it until it actually happens to them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this as a knock on them, but it's some things that you have to learn when you're getting more money. Because you have to manage it, and guys got kids out here. Like you said, guys got kids out here. They're paying for mortgages. They're paying for tuitions. You know what I'm saying? They're
got to save some money.
Exactly, paying for lights, all that. You got to think about that stuff now.
Oh yeah.
And it's gonna get to a point to where college they're gonna treat. All right, you want to get paid. You want to get paid like you in the league. All right, we're gonna treat you like you in the league.
Yep, exactly. And I think the point that you're getting at too is like if you're getting paid like that and you aren't performing, you can get cut. And the league happens all the time. Like, they give out these massive contracts and they set it up to the way that that benefits them, right? If you aren't playing well, they'll cut you and they don't have to pay you that money. Like, that's the way I see college sports coming. And that was kind of the point that I was making about these coming years and like players potentially becoming employees, is like, that's what it really, players don't understand about that employment aspect, is like, yeah, they're going to drop $22 million from the schools in revenue to push towards the players. But if they do that, you're more likely to get cut. You know, and like, these guys just, they've never had a job. They never don't understand that. The one point I do want to make about what you're talking about, I think these are such gems, but when I recruit players to work with me, one big thing that I've learned over time is that, and it's the same with college football recruiting in the sense that it's all about fit, right? Yeah. And for me, if a guy is going to come in and, you know, hey, Jake, I really want to work with you. I think you can really help me. You can help me make more money and all this type of stuff. But you're not messing with the, hey, I got to start an LLC. Hey, I got to work with my accountant. Hey, I have to do some financial planning, or I got to put some money away and have a game plan for doing that. Just being straight, bro, like, I ain't really trying to work with you like that. Just because, like,
help them grow as men.
I got to help. And at the end of the day, like, I feel a responsibility too. Like, and that's one thing, like, in the NFL and NIL, like, I'm working towards becoming an NFL agent right now. Like, one thing that we talk a lot about in the NFL circles is fiduciary capacity. And all that means is, like, you have to look out for the best interest of that other person. Fiduciary. So, like, fiduciary just means, like, hey, your job literally is, you got to look out for my best interest. And if you aren't doing that, like, you could be fired. And, like, at the end of the day, like, that's what I think about a lot is, you know, like, if I work with this player, are they going to go through and follow through with the things that I'm talking about? Like, are they going to start a business? And that's the first thing I tell any player that I work with. Is like, you're not a player anymore. You're not the person. Like, you're Decalon Brooks. Now you're Decalon Brooks Enterprises. Like, you are the business. And, like, from a branding and marketing perspective, from a, like, true, like, business application, the finance part of it, about, like, how you manage your money, like, from a savings and investing to the tax portion of it. Like, if you aren't messing with that type of stuff, it's really hard for me to help you, because, like, those are the things that the guys at the top that are doing it really, really, really well, like, it's the same thing with guys, like, investing in their bodies too. Like, you think about recovery and nutrition and all that type of stuff. For me at this level, like, I don't think that is, not that it's not important, but it's not as critical at this point in time. Like, yeah, you want to get them into that mode, but it's that same type of mindset as, like, guys that aren't willing to do that at the highest levels. I was just reading an article the other day. Derrick Henry spends $250,000 a year on his body. LeBron spends $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, that's what the type of investment, like, you have to have that mindset to put that investment in.
Because your body is your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that's a great point, because if I was you, like, if I was speaking to any of your players right now, I would tell them, like, all right, you want to do all this with your platform, right? With your NIL, your money, collectives, all that stuff, right? You gotta first thing you gotta invest in. Don't think about investing in companies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Think of investing in yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you have to really think about what your body needs, what you need from a mental aspect, so that way you can perform.
Yeah.
If you want to be Kobe, LeBron, what, like, come on,
For sure.
Ain't no better examples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? $1 million on his body, and you see what I got him.
$1 billion contract, you know, like with Nike and all that stuff. But I guess you already kind of touched on it, but I did want to wrap up with this last question is, like, you know, you have so many gems. Like, what's the advice that you would give, whether it be a high school player, a current player in college, like a player that was in your shoes at one point in time? Like, what advice would you give to them from this business perspective and the playing perspective?
From the business perspective and the playing perspective, I will always say this, always invest in yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I say investing in yourself, make sure you have a great foundation.
Like the infrastructure.
Exactly. Make sure you have good people to lean on. Make sure that they're going to hold you accountable when they need to. You know what I mean? Make sure that telling you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But always make sure you're investing in yourself, because one, you are your business.
Yeah.
You get one body. You get one mindset. You know what I mean? And you always want to make sure that everything is on the right path. You're gonna go through some ups and downs, which is cool. You know what I mean? That's part of life. But if you just stick that course and invest in yourself and learn how to make certain decisions as you grow in the college world, you know what I mean, year by year, then you're gonna be fine, bro.
Yeah. Well, yo, I appreciate the time. This is a great first episode. I mean, shoot, we've gone for like over an hour. Like I never expected us to do that, but I appreciate the time. I appreciate all the gems, and look forward to having you back on here down the road.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you.
Playmaker.